Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to our Viking Let's Build series. And today, I just thought we'd do a few tips and tricks. What the hell am I saying? Tips and tricks, just kind of spice up your village and whatnot, such as paths, walls, and then other decorations, such as the smoke, and kind of making your builds less symmetrical than you normally would. But yeah, let's go ahead and start with the easiest one, and then we'll work our way on from there. So I think we're going to go paths, then we'll build some walls, and then we'll move on to the bridges. So let's start this up. And when you're making your paths, you never want to make just plain straight paths in a line like this, because that never looks good, just trust me. So anyways, the basic thing that I follow, especially for a village like this, where it's kind of small, not a huge town like Rome or anything, it's just a small little village. I kind of like to mix up with the materials and go kind of a dirty look instead of just going all cobblestone or cobblestone bricks or whatever the hell they use in nice villages. But anyways, to start off, I like to use just cobblestone, and I kind of do like a random pattern, and once again I try to keep it not super straight. But for this path, since I do want it to connect to this bridge, I'm going to try to curve it, and then also I want it to go this way so it connects to whatever building is going to be right there. So yeah, I'm going to try to make it kind of loop, and still I'm just randomizing up the cobblestone, and that should be good enough. It's pretty random and whatnot. And then I'll switch over to my gravel, which I do not have right now, and then I'll fill in the empty spaces, just like this. And that kind of fills it in and makes it look a little more civilized than just having the grass and the cobblestone. And what else can you do to help this thing out? I guess it looks weird since we're not having the rest of the path kind of connect over. But yeah, anyways, instead of having it just go straight this way to the next town, you could have it come in a little to the bridge and then come back out. So you still have that slight curve. So let's make the other side of it. So still, once again, we're just randomizing it up. Sometimes you just want to place single blocks. Sometimes you want to put two together. Just try to mix it up the best you can. And then we will end it with something like this. And when I make my paths, I try to not have it too close to the building. And also, if there's a river or ocean next to it, try not to make it right on the edge of the water, because that looks a bit weird. And if it was in real life, the river would most likely wash the path away, and then the village would be screwed. They'd have nowhere to walk. Alright, so once again, just make sure and fill in all this other excess stuff with gravel. Try to randomize it up. I just did a bad job of that right there. I should have kept it like this instead of making it that straight path. You could even do it right there, kind of loop it. And then what else? Maybe one right there. That looks a bit better. And then just make sure and keep filling it in on most of the spaces. Keeping it random and whatnot. And then we are going to end it just like that, and that's pretty much how you do paths. And then if you see any spots where it's got too much gravel or too much cobblestone, make sure and switch up the material. I think this path might be good. We could try one right there. But as you can see, whenever you place one down, you think it's going to randomize it a bit more. It ends up not doing it, because I placed that one, and it ended up making this weird little oval shape. So I'm going to remove it and keep the gravel there, so keep that in mind. And now, I think the second easiest thing would be walls for this village. Usually walls, you try to make them pretty detailed and big on larger cities, but for a town like this, that doesn't always work out. So about the gatehouse, I will do that in a future video, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going to put it, because I'm not exactly certain how big this city is going to end up being. It kind of depends on how many builds you guys want to see, or whenever I get bored with this series, I don't know. But yeah, for this town, I'm going to keep the walls small. It'll be kind of like that Viking village that I did that little video on in the past. And I guess I'll just do a little demo of the walls right here. I'm not sure if this is going to be the final spot for them, but let's just do a quick demo. So you want to have them high enough to where people cannot jump over them, but you don't want to have them too high to where they tower over the buildings, and if you're standing somewhere you can't exactly see over them no matter how high up you are. So let's start this off. And for the small walls for tiny villages like this, I like to go about 5 high. Let's see, that's 4 and then 5. And then every level, you're going to have it 1 lower. So like that, or 1 higher. And there we go. And then, as I did here, you are not going to want to do that. It just doesn't look good. So keep it on the corners. And then you could also mix it up and put it over here, having it lower. Or instead of just going back and forth like this, you can always have it come up over here. And whenever you have an incline, make sure to keep this so it stays the same, but then after you go left 1 more block, make sure and raise that. And now this, you can just do that. So it kind of is randomized. Still not too much, so we're going to add some more just to make it even more random. You could even place a block here. So it kind of has that S-shaped curve almost. Maybe not. What the hell am I talking about? But anyways, just kind of have it wind around the village. Don't make it too close to the builds, because then if maybe there's going to be a secret alley in the back, doesn't really leave room for that. Or if you want to maybe in the end place a house back here or something, make sure and leave room for that. Or even a garden or some sort of farm. You always want to keep those in mind. Or even like a big giant willow tree that's got some lore attached to it or something. Cool story behind it, I don't know. But yeah, avoid doing too big of lines that are just straight diagonal like that. Try to mix it up as best you can. And I'm just going to do a few more pillars and then we're going to end it. The wall. And this does look a bit plain. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, even if there's no incline, you can still go up more than you usually would. Or in this case, you can go down farther than you normally would, and that definitely adds to the randomization. And also, if you want to spice it up even more, you can add some of these mossy stones to the bottom, just to make it look like the grass is kind of eating away at it. And you want to have a few of these at different levels and whatnot, and sometimes you don't want to place them at all. And then the only thing I'd recommend is not doing it like this, to where there's a space, and then it goes up, just because it looks kind of, well, it is Minecraft, so you're going to have these straight lines that cut off the moss. So that doesn't always look good. So just make sure if you are going to use a mossy cobblestone block, have that on the bottom. And we're almost done, and then we'll move to the top of the walls. And also, another thing that could spice up your build is having broken walls and whatnot. I guess I'll just put all this in this little section, and we'll kind of have it varied up and whatnot. So we're going to place 1 more block right here, and this is going to be the destroyed part of the wall. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to take some of these half slabs as well, and then kind of throw them around at the bottom where the destroyed part is. And make sure this is as random as possible, so there we go. And then you can even add some stairs in there, and random locations, and make sure to keep those random as well. And there we go. So that wall definitely looks kind of destroyed and distorted. And now for the tops of the walls, I always like to either use these as kind of spikes if it's a more fortified build, or if you want to have it thicker instead of just that skinny point at the top, you can always go just with stairs. And this also adds to the spiky, broken down look. And there we go. So that's your wall. And adding the stairs or those points definitely fixes it up, and it makes the build or the wall not so flat. And yeah, that's the walls. If you want, you can also do some of these in there. I'm not sure how good those look. Maybe if you had a few. Let's try it out. I've never done this before. Something like that. I must say that looks kind of awful. But if you want to have a big hole in the wall, I guess that could work. There was something else I wanted to try, but I can't quite remember. What was it? Maybe I'll remember it later on. But yeah, that definitely adds for more broken up wall. So yeah, that's how you do your walls. And also, I guess there's not really a good spot to demonstrate it on here, but if you did have something like this, where it's the wall on top of the grass, make sure and delete that grass block, and then place the cobblestone down. Alright, so we're done with the walls, we did the paths, now it's time to make one of these bridges. And these are also pretty simple. If I end up doing a bigger city, or even with those medieval style ones that are a bit nicer, and more civilized buildings, I'll make sure and do even more detailed walls, more detailed paths, and more detailed bridges. But for the bridges, let's see, let's find a good spot. This might be good because it's not too skinny and it's not too wide either. So for the bridges, I just like to go up 2, actually just 1 for the bottom, and it's going to be a gap of 2 in the middle, and then before you place the next block of wood, you're going to have a 1 wide gap in between that. And for the edges, actually, let's move these back 1. So your first set of logs is going to be actually in the grass, and then same for the other side, and then the second set will end up being in the water. And these are going to be moved over in one direction, just like that. So it kind of makes the build slant, and then the next block is going to be in the same sort of line as that, like this. And then the other one can either go back like this, or it can continue the curve, which is what I usually like to do. So I'm going to have it, let's see, that wasn't right. I'll have it be like this. And then that even leads to another set right here. And then towards the middle, you want to have it higher than the sides. Let me see. I kind of want to keep this bridge small. It usually looks best if you have the middle and then the sides. I'll just build it. It's tough for me to explain. So let's see. You can even fill these in just to match the other side, kind of. And then right here, you're going to place 2 blocks, same on this. And then the middle is going to be 1 taller than the sides to give it an arch. And then for these, you're going to dig down and place the wood in. And then place 1 right there so they can still get up instead of going like that. So place it there, then go 3, or 2 over, I mean, so then it ends up being 3. And then right here, raise it up again. And this whole middle section is going to be the same height. And you can either place a block on these sides or don't. I think it looks better without it. So I'm going to leave it like that. And then for right here, go up 1. Make sure it's connected to this log and not like that. And then this is also going to be 3 wide. And there you go. So that's your bridge. Pretty nice and simple, but still definitely adds to the style and kind of atmosphere of the build. And I mean, it would look better, but there's not much over here, such as grass or any of that stuff. Like over here, it looks really detailed. There's a bunch of atmosphere. You got the grass, the fences. That's another thing I should talk about, is when you make your path, and I guess we'll just do it over by the previous one we made, is as you can see right here, this is just flat and kind of boring, so maybe add some fences in here just to kind of spice up the build. And make sure you don't have stuff like this where it connects and makes that square, because that is really ugly. So there we go. That's probably good enough for right there, and then on this spot we can definitely make it curve a little more. Oops. Yeah, something like that. And make sure instead of connecting it and just going all the way across like that, definitely try to have spaces in between. And there we go. So yeah, the spaces are just to make it kind of look broken down, or if people do want to enter right here, I'm not sure why they'd want to go in there, but if they do, there's an opening for that. And then also to add to the visuals near the fences and in any plain spots by your path, you're going to want to take some bone meal. Let me see, where is it? I think it might be, yeah, materials. There we go. And also some stone if you want to make some rocks, because those always look good. Or I'm not going to do it because it's pretty simple. You can also make some bushes like that. But for the bone meal, definitely always try to have it on the other side of the fences. Like the fence is kind of holding back the weeds and vegetation. And there we go, that's good enough. And then for right here, that's kind of plain. Let's see if we can get some flowers. I don't think we're going to be able to. Maybe not. And then rocks, they either look good, just kind of randomized. Yeah, definitely randomize the rocks. And you can also have them, if it is by a river, kind of feeding into it, like that. Or if it's just going to be on land, just randomize it and have it like that. And then also have some broken off pieces off to the side. That always looks good. But yeah, there we go. And also this spot looks kind of flat and plain, so I'm going to dig back right there. Oops, that definitely isn't good, so we'll fill that with water. There we go, so that definitely looks better. And then I'll either add a fence right there or just vegetation. I think the vegetation might be better. Just so maybe someone could fish off the edge instead of being held back by a fence. But yeah, that is that. In fact, another rock might even look good here. Just a simple one right there. So yeah, before it was all plain and ugly, now it's pretty nice. So what next? I think that's all the main topics I needed to cover. There was one more thing. I think it was, yeah, symmetry. I wanted to touch up on that real quick. So as you can see, most of the builds in this town are not symmetrical. They're pretty varied. But there is a few loopholes in that, such as this building. As you can see, it's not symmetrical at all in the front. But if you move to this side, everything pretty much looks the same. And I made sure to not put this on the front, but I had it on the side where most of the people walking around aren't going to see it, especially since I will build a building right there in the future. And then as you move to the back of the build, that's also not symmetrical. And then even this side, unlike the other one over here, this side is actually varied up a bit because there is this little section that juts out of the side. And I guess the only build that has an exception for being super symmetrical would be something like a town hall, where it does kind of have to be like this, just so it does actually look like a town hall. And there we go. Although you could, if you wanted to be extra cool, you could make a town hall that's not symmetrical, and that would also work. I've never tried it before, but I'm sure you could probably come up with some cool stuff. But yeah, that is that, guys. If you do want to see any more little tips or tricks, make sure and let me know in the comments, or if you want to see a different type of building or style that you want me to work on, definitely let me know. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.